Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's Client Direct Fee webinar. My name is Debbie Watson and I'll be taking you through the process today. Any questions related to this process should be firstly directed to your support contact, so that's either your relationship manager, your field coach or a member of the advisor support team. So firstly, you need to ensure that you are in your Officeweb browser. Then you need to ensure that a sales process exists in Officeweb. If there is no workbench sales process, then you need to create a manual sales process on the sales process screen. As you can see, I already have a sales process sitting waiting to use, but if you do need to add a manual sales process, you'll see the button at the bottom of the screen, Manual SP. So you need to ensure that your sales process is highlighted in red, and then move your mouse across to the menu on the left-hand side and click on Quotes List. This will let us add a manual quote. Now we need to move our mouse to the bottom of the screen and click on Add Manual. So that's the button at the bottom of the screen called Add Manual. In the policy type, you should select Other. In the provider, you should select Positive Solutions Client Direct Charge. In the product, you have a drop-down selection of Direct Mortgage Fee, One-Off Initial Client Charge, or Ongoing Client Direct Charge, and you therefore need to click whichever is relevant to the charge. Now I'm going to click into the remuneration box in Advisor Charging. So you need to select Advisor Charging, and then you also need to fill in the type of service. So we have a selection of both initial one-off or ongoing. This needs to be selected. In Officeweb, you will be aware that any yellow fields are mandatory, as the remaining of the fields are white. I won't be filling them in for the purposes of the demonstration. I'm now going to move my mouse to the bottom of the screen and click on the Save button. This will let us save the quote detail. Now we need to set the remuneration. So we'll just move our mouse to the middle of the screen at the bottom and click on the button that says Set Remuneration. As you can see, we have a number of fields at the top which need to be complete. And for every tab, each yellow box needs to be complete. If you do not complete the yellow boxes, you will be sent a warning error and you'll have to go back in and complete them. So as you can see, all of my yellow boxes are complete, but there is one box called a reference code. And in here, we advise that you add your own WorkSmart unique reference number. So, for example, if you're a financial planner, this will begin with SPA. If you're a mortgage advisor, MPA. And if you're a protection advisor, GIA. And then it will be around 6 or 7 numbers after the initial letters. If you are unsure what your WorkSmart unique reference number is, you'll find it on the first page of your intrinsic WorkSmart, or alternatively, you should get in touch with your support contact, so either your relationship manager, field coach, or a member of the advisor support team. So for the example, I'm going to write in FPA and then a couple of numbers, which would reflect you as the advisor, your personal WorkSmart reference number, and then the client's surname. So for example, tester. If you do have a common surname, if the client does have a common surname, so for example Watson, you could put the first initial in there. So it's basically just to make sure that the intrinsic payments team can allocate the payment to you as soon as possible. So this reference code should also be placed on any invoice. It should be scribbled on the back of any check that the client sends into head office, and it should be also placed on any bank narrative. So I've completed all fields and the mandatory fields under Details 1. Now I'm going to move through to Administration. As you can see, there are no yellow fields that need to be completed, but this would be where you would include any introducer split. So please do fill those in if they're relevant to you. I'm now going to click on the Compliance tab, and as you can see we have 2 yellow mandatory fields that need to be completed. Sales process type, and then how was the advice provided. So they both need to be completed with the relevant information. I'm now going to click on Remuneration. In Style, you should select Advisor Charge. Unfortunately that isn't coming up on the test system, but it will come up on the live system. So Advisor Charge should be placed in Style, and then in the basis we should have Charge. So the top one will say Advisor Charge and the second box will say Charge. You need to leave the fee amount as 0. That is a very important point. You need to leave the fee amount as 0. Now we're going to click on the Fees tab. Now you have 2 options. You can either add an initial one-off, or you can add an ongoing template. For now I'm going to add initial one-off. Once you have pressed the Add Initial One-Off option, you will see the following message. If you press OK, it will take you to the next step. If you press Cancel, it will take you back to step 9. So when I refer to step 9, I mean in terms of the Remuneration tab. So where you entered 0 in the Remuneration tab for the fee amount, that is why we are now receiving this error message. So this is therefore correct, and you just need to click on OK. Okay. And that will take us to the screen which is displayed for the initial one-off charge. So this then needs to be filled in with all the relevant information. So the charge structure, you have a couple of options: combined, current value, fixed amount, premium and rate. For the purposes of the demonstration, I'm going to click on fixed amount. And as you can see, just enter the amount. You can also edit the payment date, and then you would move your cursor down to the bottom left hand of the screen and click on Save. You will then receive an error message. The current policy will be used to facilitate the advisor charge, and in this circumstance we need to just press OK. Now we are given the fee screen, and again any yellow mandatory fields must be completed. In the invoice number, you could add the reference code that you added earlier. So for example, FBA or unique WorkSmart reference number, and then the client surname. The reason for a fee, if you click on that, that will reveal a drop-down. And as you can see, there are a number of options there, and you just need to select whichever is relevant. The advice area needs to be selected. As you can see, the fee amount is pulled through automatically for you. The VAT drop-down also needs to be completed. And moving on to the right hand of the screen, We need to again make sure every yellow mandatory field is complete. Type of service, either independent or restricted. Charge structure has pulled through from the previous page. Now one important point, where it says is client contact pane, this needs to be left as no. This is a little quirk in the system, and this needs to remain as no, even though the client is paying you direct. So please ensure this section, is client contact being direct, is left as no. Moving down to the bottom of the screen, you can see no additional yellow fields, so I'm going to click on Save. As you can see, this has now been entered for me. I'm now going to show you how to add an ongoing charge, and you do that by selecting Add Ongoing Template. Again, we've received the error message we received previously, no fee amount has been entered, is this correct? And this is when I told you use under the remuneration tab to leave the fee amount as 0. So all you need to do is click on OK. That is correct. And if we give it a moment to load up, it will let us add an ongoing charge. Again, we just need to complete all yellow mandatory fields. By payment type, it needs to remain as via provider platform. Although we have got the option to add direct by client, this needs to remain as via provider platform. Again, this is just another quirk in the system, and it needs to remain as via provider platform. Under type of advice, select independent or restricted, depending on the basis of the advice. And then we have a couple of options for the charge structure: combined, current value, fixed amount, premium and rate. I'm going to select current value for the demonstration. We have an option for payment frequency, so I'm going to select monthly. In the premium value, I'm going to add £10,000. And in the percentage of premium value, I'm just going to put 1%. So this will pull through for us automatically. In the amount box, just give the amount that you're going to receive every month, £8.33. And in the VAT column, this needs to be completed exempt, standard rate or 0 rated, depending on the charge. Moving down the screen slightly, you now have the option to add in your start date and next payment due date. Moving to the top right hand of the screen, we have a yellow mandatory field on the advice area, so we need to make sure that is complete. And then moving down at the bottom of the screen, the left hand corner, we have the Save button. As you can see, I now have my ongoing charge entered and also my initial charge. You now need to press Save, and you will receive another error message telling you that no fee amount has been entered. Again, this is because under the remuneration tab, I informed you to leave the fee amount as 0. That is correct, so you just need to click on OK. And as you can see, this has now been added onto the screen for us. So the record's been created, ready for the payments team in Intrinsic to match the fee when it's received to the record. I'm now going to show you how to generate the invoice for the client. So we need to go onto the Positive Solutions extranet and then move our mouse to the top of the screen and click on the Advisor Support Team tab. So that's the PS extranet, then Advisor Support Team tab. We're then going to move our mouse back down the screen and click on the Workbench Sales Support option. And then you need to click on Click Here. Scrolling down the screen, you will find a fee invoice template under Remuneration. So you need to click on the fee invoice template. This will bring us an Excel spreadsheet, so we just need to click on Open. And this will download for us in a couple of moments. So this is bringing up the fee invoice template. Just a couple of moments while this downloads for us. And here is the Excel spreadsheet. Firstly, you need to make sure that you add the client name and address into this box. The date, today's date. Please ignore the section that says tax point. This isn't anything for you to worry about. In the invoice number, you need to add the same reference code, same invoice number that you added onto the submission. So, for example, FPA, and then the client surname. Again, to find out your unique WorkSmart reference number, all you need to do is go onto the first page of the intrinsic WorkSmart, or alternatively contact your relationship manager, field coach, or the member of the AST. Under payment type, if you know it, I added this in here. So for example, check, backs, chaps, etc. Customer reference, that can just be left. And then you would insert the remainder of the information. And as you can see, our PS Bank details are at the bottom of the screen. You need to print this off and give it to the client. And then the client, if they're sending a cheque to PS Head Office, needs to attach this invoice to the back of the cheque. This will help the intrinsic payments team allocate the payment to you as soon as possible using this invoice number. What we would also recommend is that you upload a copy of this document to the Documents section in Officeweb, along with the rest of your supporting documentation, so for example your KFIs, application and suitability letter. So therefore this invoice, one copy needs to go to the client and one copy needs to be saved to the Documents section of Officeweb. One important thing to note, the invoice reference must match the reference code on the Officeweb submission to enable quick payments. That brings us to the end of the demonstration. As mentioned previously, if you do have any questions on this demonstration, I would advise you to get in touch with your support contact, be that your relationship manager, your field coach, or a member of the advisor support team. Thank you very much for your time today.